I never imagined that a simple argument could completely upend my life. It started on an ordinary Tuesday evening, the kind of day that felt ordinary until it wasn't. I was sitting on the edge of our living room couch, scrolling through my phone, while my wife, Lisa, stood near the kitchen counter, chopping vegetables. We had been married for 5 years, and like most couples, we had our share of disagreements, but nothing like this. The argument began innocuously enough. I had forgotten to pick up something from the store, again. "You're always forgetting things," Lisa said, her voice tinged with frustration but also a strange firmness I hadn't encountered before. I opened my mouth to defend myself, as I usually did, but she cut me off.
"No, don't.
Just listen this time." I froze, unsure whether she was serious. She had never spoken like that. There was a weight behind her words, a determination that made me uneasy. "I think maybe you need to see things from my perspective," she continued. "And maybe a little change would help you understand me better." I laughed nervously, thinking she was joking. Change? What kind of change? Lisa didn't answer immediately. Instead, she reached into the drawer and pulled out a box I had never noticed before. Inside were items that seemed out of place in our otherwise ordinary household: delicate skirts, soft blouses, makeup kits, and accessories. I stared at them, my mind racing, unable to comprehend what she was suggesting. "You're going to try this," she said calmly, almost commandingly. "And not just once. I want you to live it, feel it. For a while, you'll see the world through a lens you've ignored for years." I wanted to argue, to insist this was ridiculous, but the intensity in her eyes silenced me. There was no room for refusal. Slowly, hesitantly, I allowed her to guide me to our bedroom. My heart was pounding, my hands trembling as I touched the soft fabrics, feeling a strange mixture of fear and curiosity. Lisa smiled gently, seeing my hesitation. "It's okay to be nervous," she said. "I'll be with you the whole time." That night, I sat in front of the mirror as she helped me transform. Each brush of makeup, every adjustment of clothing, every curl of my hair felt surreal. I barely recognized the reflection staring back at me, a softer, gentler version of myself, almost unrecognizable. It wasn't just appearance, it was how I felt, vulnerable, yet strangely open. There was an unfamiliar sensitivity in the way I moved, the way I looked at myself. Days turned into weeks, and what started as an experiment quickly became a routine. Lisa had a way of making the process seem natural, almost necessary. Each day, I explored the world differently, seeing people's reactions, noticing my own emotions shift, and slowly, I began to understand her perspective in ways I never had before. Then came the shock. One morning, as I was brushing my hair, Lisa handed me a small, pastel-colored envelope. I opened it, and my eyes widened in disbelief. I was pregnant. The realization hit me like a wave. I didn't know how it was possible. Scientifically, it made no sense, but somehow my body had changed in ways that defied explanation. I was still me, yet entirely different. Feminized, transformed, and now carrying life in a way I could barely comprehend. Fear, awe, and a strange joy mingled within me, creating a whirlwind of emotions that I struggled to process. Lisa held me close, whispering reassurance. "I told you change would open new doors. This is just another chapter. You're still you, just experiencing life differently. Together, we'll navigate this." And just like that, my life was irreversibly altered. The argument that had seemed insignificant had unlocked a cascade of transformations, physically, emotionally, and mentally. I was no longer the person I had been that ordinary Tuesday evening. I was someone new, someone fragile yet strong, someone learning what it meant to truly inhabit another perspective. Even as I write this now, I can feel the lingering effects, the soft sway of my body, the heightened awareness of the world around me, the gentle rhythms of life inside me. Every argument, every decision, every tiny moment had led me here, and I couldn't turn back. And deep down, despite the shock and the fear, I knew that this journey, though unchosen at first, was teaching me more about love, empathy, and transformation than I had ever imagined possible. The days after the news felt surreal, like I was living inside a dream I couldn't wake from. Every morning, I would wake up and see the changes in my reflection, the softening of my features, the subtle curves forming on my body, and the undeniable proof of the pregnancy. At first, I felt panic bubbling inside me, a mix of confusion and disbelief. How could this happen to me? How could my life flip so completely in just a few weeks? Lisa, however, seemed calm, almost serene. She moved around the house with her usual efficiency, preparing meals, organizing our home, and somehow including me in every step of her day. "You're still you," she said often, though the words felt strange on my tongue when I tried to repeat them. "You're just evolving." I struggled to accept the term evolving. Every movement I made was a reminder that my body no longer belonged entirely to me. My hands were softer, my hair longer and silky, and even my voice carried a gentle lilt I had never had before. Walking past a mirror, I would catch glimpses of a woman staring back at me, and for a moment, panic would rise again. But then, I would hear Lisa's soft voice, grounding me. "You're beautiful," she would say. "You've always been beautiful. You just needed to see it for yourself." One afternoon, I found myself in the bedroom, sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at the maternity clothes Lisa had laid out for me. I picked up a soft pink blouse, feeling its fabric slide through my fingers. There was a strange tenderness in the touch, a connection I couldn't explain. I slipped it on, and the way it hugged my changing body made me shiver, not in discomfort, but in recognition. I was becoming someone new, and for the first time, I allowed myself to feel a quiet pride in that transformation. Lisa watched me from the doorway, smiling. "You're adjusting," she said. "I can see it." I nodded, unable to put into words the storm of emotions swirling inside me. It wasn't just the physical change. It was the way people around me began to treat me differently. Strangers on the street smiled more, spoke gently, or complimented my appearance. It was disorienting but also enlightening. I began to understand the subtle pressures, the expectations, and the attentions that Lisa had navigated her whole life. One evening, I found myself holding my stomach, feeling the tiny, rhythmic movements of life inside me. It was a sensation that left me breathless, a connection I had never imagined possible. Fear mingled with awe, and I realized that this transformation was teaching me empathy in ways I could never have predicted. I wasn't just learning about my own femininity, I was learning about care, patience, and the intricate, delicate balance of life itself. As the weeks passed, my wardrobe expanded, my hair grew longer, and my mannerisms became softer, more fluid. I noticed myself walking differently, gesturing differently, even speaking differently. It was as if my body was teaching me a new language, one I had no choice but to learn. And through it all, Lisa was my guide, my anchor, my constant reassurance. Yet, despite the progress, moments of doubt and fear still crept in. Sometimes, I would catch my reflection and feel a pang of longing for my old self, a version of me that seemed impossibly distant now. I would whisper into the mirror, "Who am I?" And the answer was never simple. I was both me and someone entirely new. It was disorienting, yes, but also strangely liberating. Then came a particularly quiet night, the kind where the house is silent except for the faint hum of the refrigerator. Lisa and I sat together on the couch, her hand resting over mine on my stomach. "You're doing beautifully," she said softly. "I know it feels strange, even overwhelming, but look at you. You're learning, growing, and embracing this life with courage." I swallowed hard, tears pricking at the corners of my eyes. "I don't know if I can ever fully accept this," I admitted. "It's so much, so fast." Lisa tilted my chin gently, making me look into her eyes. "Acceptance isn't immediate," she said. "It's a journey, and you're already on it. Every day, every change, every moment, you're becoming more than you ever imagined." Her words sank deep into me, a seed of calm amid the whirlwind of transformation. For the first time, I allowed myself to imagine a future where this version of me wasn't just temporary but meaningful. where my femininity, my pregnancy, and the gentle reshaping of my identity could coexist with the man I had once been. That night, as I lay in bed, I felt the quiet rhythm of life inside me and the soft brush of long hair against my pillow. Fear still lingered, yes, but it was tempered with wonder and curiosity. I had argued with my wife, resisted change, and yet here I was, feminized, pregnant, and learning a life I had never dared to imagine. It was strange, it was daunting, but it was real. And for the first time in a long while, I felt a deep, resonant connection to someone I had always loved, not just Lisa, but myself, in this new and astonishing form. As the weeks rolled on, the changes became impossible to ignore. My reflection in the mirror no longer startled me. Instead, it began to feel like home, though an unfamiliar one. My body had softened, my movements had become fluid, and even my posture carried a new grace. I noticed subtle differences in how people treated me, kind smiles from strangers, unexpected compliments, and a gentle warmth in interactions that I hadn't experienced before. It was enlightening, but also unnerving. One morning, I caught myself practicing small gestures in front of the mirror, tilting my head, smoothing my hair, even the way I held my hands. I realized I was learning the language of femininity not just from clothes and makeup, but from instinct, from intuition. And yet, there were moments when I longed for my old self, the confidence of simplicity, the unthinking ease of being unnoticed. Lisa, as always, remained patient and gentle, guiding me through every stage of this transformation. She introduced me to yoga, explaining how posture and balance could help me feel more at ease in my body. She showed me how to dress comfortably while highlighting my changing form. She even taught me how to move through spaces in ways that felt natural and confident. Every lesson was a mixture of practical guidance and emotional reassurance, and I clung to her wisdom, knowing that without her, I might still be lost in panic and doubt. Then, one afternoon, an unexpected challenge arose. I had been invited to a small gathering at a friend's house, something I would have normally considered trivial. But now, with my new identity and my pregnancy, the thought of being seen by others filled me with anxiety. What would they think? Would they notice the changes? Could they even understand me? Lisa noticed my hesitation. She placed her hand gently on mine and said, "You're stronger than you think. People will see the real you, and that's enough. And I'll be right there with you." Her words offered some comfort, though my heart still raced as we approached the gathering. Walking into the room, I felt every eye on me, every whisper in the air magnified in my mind. But to my surprise, the reactions were warm, kind, and accepting. Friends complimented my outfit, admired my new hairstyle, and asked gentle questions about my pregnancy. I realized in that moment that fear often magnifies what we imagine others think of us, and that genuine acceptance could be found in the most unexpected places. That night, walking home with Lisa, I felt a quiet sense of accomplishment. I had faced the world in this new form, and it hadn't crumbled me. It had reshaped me, yes, but it had also taught me resilience. I began to notice subtle changes within myself. A patience I hadn't known, a nurturing instinct, and a newfound empathy that extended beyond my immediate experiences. Yet, there were moments of vulnerability that struck without warning. Late at night, lying in bed, I would sometimes run my hands over my changing body and wonder who I truly was. I whispered to myself, "Am I still me?" The answer was never simple. I was me, but also someone entirely new, a person shaped by experiences I had never anticipated. The pregnancy progressed, and with it, the transformations intensified. My body adapted, and I learned to embrace its rhythms. I discovered joy in simple gestures, feeling the flutter of life within me, the way my hair fell perfectly into place, the soft sway of my hips when I walked. Even mundane activities, pouring tea, folding laundry, tending to small tasks, became exercises in grace, patience, and self-awareness. Lisa remained my anchor, her guidance unwavering. She would often sit beside me, holding my hand as I navigated moments of doubt. "You're learning to see the world differently," she said one evening. "Not just through my eyes, but through your own, reshaped by experience. You're becoming more than you ever imagined." And I was beginning to believe her. The argument that had started it all, the one that had seemed so trivial at the time, had sparked a transformation that went far beyond appearance. It had reshaped my identity, my perspective, and my understanding of love and connection. I was no longer just a husband. I was a partner in ways I had never comprehended, experiencing life through the depth and sensitivity that Lisa had long navigated. By the end of part 3, I had learned that transformation is not just physical, it is emotional, psychological, and spiritual. Every day, I discovered a new layer of myself, a new way of being, and a growing understanding of the person I was becoming. As the months passed, the transformation became more than just a daily routine. It became a part of who I was. Every movement, every gesture, every thought carried traces of the new identity I had grown into. My reflection no longer startled me. Instead, it felt familiar, almost comforting. I had learned to move through the world with a quiet grace, and yet, beneath that grace, there was still a flicker of the person I had once been, a reminder that transformation doesn't erase the past, it reshapes it. One morning, I woke to find Lisa sitting beside me, holding a small journal. "I thought you might want to keep track of this journey," she said. Her eyes were soft, encouraging, yet sparkled with a hint of excitement. I hesitated, unsure if I could capture these overwhelming experiences in words, but as I began to write, something unexpected happened. The words poured out: fear, awe, curiosity, and an emerging pride. Writing became another form of transformation, a way to process the changes inside and out. Despite the progress, moments of doubt still struck me, sometimes when I least expected them. Looking down at my rounded belly, I would feel a pang of disbelief. "This is real," I would whisper to myself. "I am truly experiencing life this way." The words sounded strange, yet undeniable. And every time, Lisa's reassuring presence helped me anchor myself in reality, reminding me that change doesn't have to be frightening, it can be illuminating. Then came the day that tested me more than any other. We were attending a small family gathering, and I knew I would be seen by relatives who had not witnessed any of my transformation. Anxiety coiled in my stomach as we entered the house. Every laugh, every glance felt amplified. I felt the familiar tension rise, the self-consciousness that had haunted me at first now threatening to resurface. Lisa squeezed my hand and whispered, "Breathe. You are who you are, and they will see your heart before anything else." I nodded, though my nerves remained. As the evening unfolded, I noticed something remarkable: the warmth, curiosity, and acceptance in my family's eyes. They asked gentle questions, offered compliments, and showed interest in my pregnancy and my experiences. It was a revelation. I realized that transformation, though personal and intimate, could be met with understanding and compassion when approached with honesty and openness. That night, walking home with Lisa, I felt a profound sense of relief. I had faced the world in this new form and survived. Not just survived, but learned that this new identity carried its own strengths, its own beauty, and its own power. And yet, beneath that relief, I sensed the final stages of my transformation approaching. In the following weeks, my body continued to adapt. My features softened further. My hair fell in gentle waves, and the gentle curves of my new form became undeniable. I found myself moving with confidence I had never known, navigating spaces with an ease that came from total acceptance of who I had become. Even my emotions felt deeper, more nuanced, a rich tapestry of empathy, awareness, and connection that I had never experienced before. One evening, as Lisa helped me into a flowing dress that now fit my form perfectly, I caught my reflection in the mirror. The person staring back at me was wholly transformed, feminine, graceful, yet unmistakably me. A surge of emotion welled up inside me: gratitude, awe, and a touch of sorrow for the person I had once been. But there was no regret. Transformation had brought me to a place of understanding, empathy, and self-discovery I could never have imagined. Lisa approached, brushing a strand of hair from my face. "You've embraced this journey beautifully," she said softly. "You've allowed yourself to change, to grow, and to discover the depth of who you are. You're ready for what comes next." I nodded, my hand resting on my rounded belly. The life growing inside me was the ultimate symbol of change, of transformation, of the unexpected paths life can take. I realized then that this journey wasn't just about physical alteration. It was about acceptance, love, and the courage to face the unknown with an open heart. And as I stood there, looking at my reflection, feeling the gentle rhythm of life within me, I understood something fundamental. Transformation isn't something that happens to you. It's something you allow, embrace, and nurture. And when you do, it can reveal strength, beauty, and resilience you never knew existed. The final weeks of my transformation were a mixture of anticipation, reflection, and quiet wonder. Every morning, as sunlight filtered through the curtains, I would rise and move through the house with the ease and confidence I had gradually cultivated. My reflection had become a friend, a reminder of the journey I had undertaken and the lessons I had learned along the way. I no longer questioned who I was. I simply was fully present in this new identity, fully aware of the life growing within me. Lisa remained by my side, unwavering and tender, guiding me through each day with gentle encouragement. She celebrated every milestone with me, the first flutter of movement, the changes in my body, the small victories of confidence and acceptance. "Look at how far you've come," she would say, her voice warm and steady. "You've embraced this journey with courage, and it shows in every part of you." The pregnancy progressed smoothly, and I began to understand the depth of responsibility and care it demanded. I found joy in small rituals, preparing meals with thoughtfulness, resting when my body called for it, and simply speaking to the life inside me. Each movement, each sensation, each heartbeat was a reminder of how transformation could extend beyond appearance into the essence of living itself. I also noticed how the world around me had shifted. Friends and colleagues treated me with respect and warmth, noticing the quiet strength I carried. Even strangers offered smiles or words of encouragement. I realized that my external transformation had shaped not only how I was perceived, but also how I engaged with the world. I approached interactions with empathy, patience, and attentiveness that had once been foreign to me. There were still moments of vulnerability, occasional doubts, fleeting pangs of nostalgia for my former self, but I had learned to navigate them with acceptance rather than resistance. I whispered to myself, "I am me, and I am new," a mantra that grounded me during moments of uncertainty. One quiet evening, as Lisa and I sat together on the couch, her hand resting over mine on my belly, I felt a profound sense of peace. The argument that had sparked this entire journey now seemed distant, almost trivial compared to the lessons it had imparted. I had begun as someone unwilling to change, resistant to perspective, and hesitant to step outside my comfort zone. Now, I was someone transformed, physically, emotionally, and mentally, carrying life, grace, and empathy in ways I had never imagined. "I can hardly believe this is me," I admitted softly, my voice gentle, feminine, yet entirely my own. Lisa smiled, leaning closer. "It's always been you," she said. "You just needed to see it for yourself. And now look at what you've become. Strong, nurturing, and beautifully transformed." I rested my hand on my stomach, feeling the life inside me move in gentle rhythms. It was a reminder that transformation isn't a single moment. It's a journey, a process, and a commitment to growth and understanding. I had argued, resisted, and feared change, but in the end, I had embraced it, and it had reshaped me in ways that were both humbling and empowering. In the stillness of that evening, I reflected on the journey. The initial shock, the awkwardness, the fear, the slow adjustments, the emotional breakthroughs, and the growing self-acceptance. I had become someone entirely new while remaining myself, a paradox I had learned to live with. And in that acceptance, I found freedom. As I looked at Lisa, who had been my anchor, guide, and partner through every twist and turn, I realized that transformation is not just about physical change. It is about opening your heart, embracing vulnerability, and allowing yourself to grow in ways that extend far beyond what you can imagine. I had argued with my wife, resisted the unknown, and yet, through that resistance, I discovered a life richer, deeper, and more meaningful than I could have ever dreamed. And so, as the sun set and the quiet hum of life surrounded us, I felt a profound gratitude for the journey, for the changes, for the lessons, and for the unwavering love that had guided me every step of the way. I was no longer just me. I was transformed, feminized, carrying life within me, and embracing the fullness of who I had become. Thanks for watching.